Kim Tae was driving his big truck down Highway 35 when he saw something weird. It was 3 in the morning, and the road was empty except for the strange blue light coming from the ditch. At first, he thought it might be a car accident. Tae had been driving trucks for 15 years, and he never passed by someone who needed help. He pulled his 18-wheeler to the side and grabbed his flashlight. The smell hit him first, something like burning metal mixed with ozone after lightning strikes. As he got closer, Tae realized this wasn't any car crash he'd ever seen. There was a pod-shaped thing about the size of a small car made of some kind of crystal material that still glowed faintly blue. Steam was rising from cracks all along its surface. "What the hell?" Tae muttered, stepping carefully around the strange wreckage. Parts of it looked melted, and there were scorch marks on the ground like something had hit hard and slid. That's when he heard it, a soft whimpering sound coming from inside. Tae peered through a crack in the crystal shell and nearly dropped his flashlight. There was a girl inside, but she wasn't human. Her skin was pale blue like winter sky, and when she looked up at him, her eyes glowed with their own soft light. She was tiny, maybe 4 feet tall, and looked hurt. The girl saw him and started making sounds he couldn't understand. Then she touched something on her neck, and suddenly she was speaking Korean, though her voice had a weird echo to it. "Please," she said, trying to sit up. "Are you going to hurt me?" Tae shook his head quickly. No, I want to help. Are you okay? What happened here?" "My ship crashed," she said, looking around at the broken crystal walls. "The translation. Device still works, that's good. My name is Nara, I'm a courier." "A courier?" Tae asked, though he was more focused on figuring out how to get her out safely. "Like you deliver packages?" "Information," Nara said. "Very important information. I was traveling through hyperspace when they shot me down. I managed to make an emergency jump to your planet, but my ship is destroyed." Tae found a section of the crystal that had broken away cleanly and carefully, pulled it aside to make an opening. "Here, let me help you out of there. Who shot you down?" Nara took his offered hand. Her skin felt warm despite its blue color, and she was lighter than he expected. "The Dominion. They're a warrior race that conquers planets. I was carrying a warning to Earth about their invasion fleet." She stumbled as she stepped out, and Tae caught her arm. "Invasion fleet?" Tae felt his stomach drop. "You mean like aliens invading Earth?" "Yes," Nara said, looking up at him with those glowing eyes. "They'll be here soon. I have to reach our embassy in your capital city. They have to warn your governments." Tae looked at this small alien girl, then at his truck, then back at her. Any sane person would probably call the police or the military. But Nara looked scared and hurt, and she was talking about Earth being invaded. If that was true, every minute counted. "Okay," he said finally. "My truck's right there. I can get you to the city, but it's going to take all night." Nara's eyes brightened with hope. "You'll help me? Even though I'm not human?" Tae shrugged. "You need help and people are in danger. That's enough for me. Come on, let's get moving before whoever shot you down shows up looking for wreckage." Tae helped Nara climb into the passenger seat of his truck cab. She was so small that her feet barely touched the floor, and she kept looking around with wide, glowing eyes like she'd never seen the inside of a vehicle before. "So there's an alien embassy on Earth?" Tae asked, as he started the engine and pulled back onto the highway. "How long have you guys been here?" "About 50 years, Nara said, adjusting the strange device on her neck. "We've been watching your planet, learning about humans. My people, the Keth, we don't interfere with developing worlds, but the Dominion doesn't follow those rules." Tae glanced at her in the mirror. "What exactly is the Dominion?" "They're conquerors," Nara's voice got quieter. "They find planets with resources or strategic value and take them. They don't care about the people who live there. Earth sits right in the middle of several important trade routes, and your planet has rare minerals they want." The truck rumbled down the dark highway, headlights cutting through the night. Tae's mind was racing. This was crazy. Yesterday, his biggest worry was making his delivery deadline, and now he was driving an alien refugee who was trying to save the world. "How long before they get here?" he asked. "Maybe 2 days, maybe less," Nara said. "That's why I was flying so fast when they caught me. I pushed my ship beyond its limits, trying to reach Earth first." Tay reached for his CB radio. Every trucker knew the unwritten rules. You help each other out, you share information about road conditions and police, and you keep an eye out for trouble. This was trouble bigger than anything he'd ever heard of. He keyed the microphone. Breaker. 19. This is Seoul Express looking for any drivers between here and the capital. Got my ears on, over. Static crackled for a moment. Then a familiar voice came through. Seoul Express, this is Mountain Tiger. I'm about 60 miles ahead of you on Highway 35. What's your 20? Mountain Tiger, I'm carrying some special cargo. Tonight. Need to know if you've seen anything unusual on the road. Any aircraft that don't look right or vehicles that seem out of place? There was a pause. That's a strange question for this time of night, Seoul Express. You in some kind of trouble? Tay looked at Nara, who was listening intently even though she probably couldn't understand the trucker slang. Let's just say I've got a passenger who really needs to get to the capital safely. There might be some unfriendly folks looking for us. Copy that? Mountain Tiger's voice was serious now. I haven't seen anything weird, but I'll keep my eyes open. You want me to put the word out on the network? Affirmative. Tell everyone to watch for strange lights in the sky or vehicles that don't belong. But keep it quiet. We don't want to panic anyone. Will do, Seoul Express. Drive safe out there. Tay hung up the microphone and looked at Nara. That was another. Trucker. We all look out for each other. If there's anything unusual happening on the roads tonight, we'll know about it. Nara seemed amazed. You trust these people you can't even see? It's not about trust, Tay said. It's about understanding. We're all doing the same job, facing the same challenges. When someone needs help, you help them. That's just how it works. The Dominion would never understand that, Nara said softly. They only work together when they're forced to. They can't imagine helping someone just because it's the right thing to do. Well, Tay said, switching on his turn signal to pass a slow-moving car, they're about to learn something new about humans. The first sign of trouble came an hour later. Nara had been working on a small device she'd pulled from her damaged ship, trying to connect broken wires with her tiny fingers. Suddenly she looked up at the truck's windshield with alarm. They're here, she whispered. Tay squinted at the dark sky ahead. At first he didn't see anything. Then 3 points of light appeared, moving in a perfect triangle formation. They weren't blinking like airplane lights, and they moved too smoothly, too quietly. Those are Dominion scouts, Nara said, her glowing eyes reflecting fear. They're scanning every vehicle on this highway. The CB radio crackled to life. All drivers, on Highway 35, this is Desert Rose. Anyone else seeing these weird lights in the sky? They're not showing up on my GPS, and they're moving like nothing I've ever seen. Tay grabbed his microphone. Desert Rose, this is Seoul Express. I see them too. Looks like some kind of military exercise, maybe. Everyone should probably take alternate routes for a while. Copy that, Seoul Express. These things are giving me the creeps. Tay was already moving toward the next exit ramp. He'd been driving these roads for years and knew every back road, every shortcut that the GPS systems never showed. If those ships were looking for them, the main highway was the worst place to be. Can they detect you inside the truck? He asked. Nara as they rolled down a narrow county road between cornfields. Not easily, she said, still working on her device. The metal in your vehicle blocks most scans, but if they get close enough. She held up the broken communicator. I need to contact the embassy. This device should be able to reach them, but the crash damaged the power coupling. Tay pulled a small toolkit from behind his seat. Here, try these. I'm not much of an electronics guy, but maybe something will help. As Nara worked with the tiny tools, the CB came alive with chatter from other truckers. This is Midnight Rider. On Interstate 40, those lights just swooped down and hovered over the Flying J truck stop for about 5 minutes. Scared the hell out of everyone inside. Another voice joined in. Night Owl here. I'm seeing the same things on Highway 60. They're checking every truck stop, every rest area, moving in some kind of pattern. Then Lee June's voice came through clear and urgent. This is Iron Horse calling. All drivers. I'm at the Riverside truck stop, and I just watched one of those aircraft shine some kind of beam on every single truck in the parking lot. When they finished, they moved to the next stop down the line. This isn't random, folks. They're looking for something specific. Tay felt his hands tighten on the steering wheel. Nara, How long before they realize you're not at any of the truck stops? They'll start scanning vehicles on the road next, she said, without looking up from her work. But they have to be careful. Too much activity and your military will notice. They want to find me quietly. The back road wound through small farming communities where most people were asleep. Tai knew these routes could get them to the capital, but it would take longer. Every minute counted, but staying hidden was more important than speed right now. "Got it," Nara suddenly exclaimed. The device in her hands flickered to life with soft blue light. "The power coupling is working, but the signal is very weak. I can try to send a message, but what? If I transmit, they'll be able to track the signal. They'll know exactly where we are." Tay looked at the alien girl, then at the dark road ahead. "How long do you need?" "Maybe 30 seconds to send the warning. Then we better find the right place to do it." Tay pulled into Park's 24-hour truck stop just as the sun was starting to rise. The place was busy with early morning drivers getting coffee and fuel before hitting the road. Nara had managed to send her warning message 20 minutes ago from a hilltop, but now her communication device was completely dead. "They got the message," she said tiredly. "But the embassy is 3 hours away and they're sending people to meet us here." Choi Han, the truck stop owner, came out to greet them as Tai parked. Han had run this place for 12 years and knew every regular driver who came through. He took one look at Tai's worried face and knew something was wrong. "You look like you haven't slept," Han said, then stopped when he saw Nara climb down from the passenger side. His eyes went wide. "Han, I need your help," Tai said quietly. "This is Nara. She's not from around here and some very bad people are looking for her. People who want to hurt a lot of innocent folks." Han stared at Nara's blue skin and glowing eyes for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Come inside. We'll figure this out." Inside the diner, several truckers were eating breakfast and drinking coffee. Yunbo, a veteran driver with 20 years on the road, looked up from his eggs and immediately noticed Nara. "Well, I'll be damned," he said quietly. "Seoul Express, you want to tell us what's going on?" Before Tae could answer, Kang Min burst through the front door. "Everyone needs to see this," he said, pointing outside. "There are vehicles coming down the highway that I've never seen before. Black, no license plates, and they're moving in formation." Through the windows they could see 6 sleek black vehicles approaching the truck stop. They moved silently and looked like someone had mixed a car with a spaceship. As they got closer, it was clear the occupants weren't human. "Dominion soldiers," Nara whispered, instinctively moving closer to Tai. "They tracked us here." Han didn't hesitate. He walked to the CB radio behind the counter and keyed the microphone. "All drivers at Park's truck stop, we've got a situation. Anyone who wants to leave should do it now through the back exit. Anyone who wants to stay, we could use your help protecting someone who doesn't deserve what's coming." The response was immediate. Instead of running, the truckers started moving. Yunbo stood up from his breakfast. "What do you need us to do?" "These things want to take Nara," Tai said. "She was trying to warn Earth about an invasion. If they capture her, a lot of people are going to die." Kang Min looked out the window at the approaching vehicles. "How many of them are there?" "In those vehicles? Maybe 20 soldiers," Nara said, "but they're trained warriors with advanced weapons." "Well," said a new voice from the back of the diner. It was Park Jin, a quiet driver who rarely spoke up. "There's about 15 of us here, and we know this place better than they do." Han was already thinking tactically. "My truck stop has reinforced walls because of the tornado that hit here 5 years ago. The windows are thick, and there are only 3 ways in. If we can keep them outside—" "They'll have weapons we've never seen before," Nara warned. "Maybe," said Yunbo, cracking his knuckles. "But I bet they've never dealt with truckers who are pissed off either." The black vehicles were pulling into the parking lot now. Through the tinted windows they could see tall figures in dark armor getting out. The soldiers moved with military precision, surrounding the building. "This is it," Han said, locking the front door. "Everyone who's staying, grab whatever you can use as a weapon. And remember, we're not trying to win a war here, we just need to hold them off until help arrives." Tae looked around at the faces of drivers he'd known for years. These were ordinary people. Fathers, grandfathers, working folks just trying to make a living, but they were all standing firm, ready to fight alien soldiers to protect one small girl they'd just met. "Why are you doing this?" Nara asked, looking up at the circle of determined faces around her. Yunbo smiled grimly. "Kid, truckers have one rule. You don't mess with our family, and right now, you're family." While the standoff continued at Park's truck stop, something incredible was happening across the country. The CB radio networks that connected truckers from coast to coast were buzzing with activity like never before. In California, Xin Wu was driving his refrigerated truck full of produce when his radio crackled with an urgent message from a driver. In Nevada. "Golden Bear, this is Desert Wind. I just got word from back east about some kind of situation. Foreign military vehicles attacking a truck stop, and they're looking for more targets." Xin Wu had been driving for 18 years and had never heard anything like this. "Desert Wind, can you confirm that? What kind of foreign military?" "The kind that doesn't show up on any radar. Golden Bear. Word is they're hunting for something. Checking every truck stop and rest area. Drivers are being told to watch for black vehicles and strange aircraft." Within an hour, Xin Wu had contacted every driver he knew on the western routes. The message spread like wildfire. Drivers started changing their routes, avoiding main truck stops and keeping their eyes on the sky. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, Lim Sol was coordinating communications from her base in Virginia. As one of the few female long-haul drivers, she'd earned respect through 15 years of hard work and had connections with truckers throughout the eastern states. "This is Mountain Rose calling all eastbound drivers," she transmitted. "We've got confirmation of hostile activity targeting trucking networks. These aren't regular military forces. Repeat, these are not our people." The response was immediate. Driver after driver checked in, reporting their locations and what they'd seen. A pattern began to emerge. The strange aircraft were following major interstate highways, systematically checking every location where truckers gathered. Back at Park's truck stop, Nara listened in amazement as reports poured in over the CB radio. Han had rigged the system to broadcast on multiple channels, turning the diner into a communication hub. "This is Rocky Mountain calling from Colorado. We've got 3 of those black aircraft circling the truck stop at mile marker 247. All drivers are avoiding the area." Texas Thunder reporting from Dallas. "Saw 5 of those weird vehicles at the Flying J on Interstate 35. They're definitely not from around here." Northern Lights checking in from Minnesota. "The strange ships are following a search pattern. They hit every major truck stop between here and the Canadian border." Nara had never seen anything like this coordination. "How are they doing this?" she asked Tay. "Your people don't have a central command system, but they're working together like..." "To military unit." Tay smiled despite the dangerous situation outside. "That's because truckers are already a community. We've been looking out for each other for decades. CB radios, truck stops, loading docks, we're connected in ways most people don't see." Han overheard and nodded. "When one trucker has trouble, word spreads to hundreds of others within hours. We share information about road conditions, police activity, good places to eat, places to avoid. This is just the same system working on a bigger scale." The radio crackled again. "This is Iron Eagle from Oregon. I've got 15 trucks with me, and we're forming a convoy. If these foreigners want to mess with truckers, they're going to find out what American drivers are made of." Similar reports came in from across the country. In Georgia, a group of drivers were coordinating to escort smaller trucks through dangerous areas. In Arizona, truckers were using their knowledge of back roads to guide others away from the search zones. "Your people are remarkable," Nara said, watching the coordinated response unfold. "The Dominion conquers planets by dividing people, making them fight each other. But humans are doing the opposite." "That's the thing about truckers," said Yunbo, still keeping watch at the window. "We're used to being alone on the road. But we're never really alone. There's always someone listening on the radio, always someone ready to help." The CB radio came alive with Xin Wu's voice from California. "All drivers, this is Golden Bear with an update. We've confirmed that our eastern friends are holding their position. The enemy is learning that American truckers don't back down from a fight." The siege at Park's truck stop had lasted 3 hours when help arrived in an unexpected form. Bayek, a 70-year-old veteran trucker with silver hair and countless stories, pulled his ancient but well-maintained rig right up to the back of the building. He'd been driving trucks since before CB radios were common, and his reputation for reliability was legendary among drivers. "Seoul Express, this is Old Timer," his gravelly voice came over the radio. "I've got a plan to get your special cargo where it needs to go, but we're going to do this the smart way." The Dominion soldiers had been trying to break into the truck, stop for hours, but Han's reinforced building was holding. Still, everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens brought heavier weapons or reinforcements. "What do you have in mind, Old Timer?" Tay responded. "We're going to run a relay just like the old Underground Railroad," Baek-do explained. "Instead of keeping the girl in one truck where they can track her, we pass her between drivers. Each of us takes her part of the way, then hands her off to the next driver. They can't track what they can't predict." Nara looked confused. "Underground Railroad?" "It's from our history," Han explained quietly. "A long time ago, brave people helped slaves escape to freedom by passing them secretly from house to house. Same idea, but with trucks. Within minutes, Baek-do had coordinated with drivers positioned along a route to the capital. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. While the Dominion forces focused on the truck stop, Nara would slip out the back and begin a journey that would involve a dozen different trucks and drivers. The first handoff went perfectly. Under cover of darkness, Tai helped Nara into Baek-do's truck while the aliens were distracted by a diversion at the front of the building. The old trucker drove off into the night, taking back roads that weren't on any GPS system. 20 miles later, young driver Ryu Jun was waiting at a predetermined meeting point. At 25, he was one of the youngest long-haul drivers on the road, but he knew the mountain passes better than anyone. His small, agile truck could handle routes that bigger rigs couldn't manage. "Don't worry, little one," Ryujun said as Nara climbed into his cab. "I grew up in these mountains. There are roads up here that haven't been on maps for 30 years, as—" They climbed into the hills. Ryujun explained how he'd learned every shortcut and back road from his grandfather, who had been a trucker before him. "The old-timers taught us that sometimes the longest way around is the shortest way home," he said. The radio crackled with updates from other drivers. The Dominion forces had realized their target was no longer at the truck stop and were spreading out to search a wider area. But they were looking for one truck carrying one passenger, not a constantly changing relay of vehicles. The next handoff was with Okai, a veteran city driver who specialized in navigating urban areas. Her truck was smaller and looked like any of thousands of delivery vehicles that moved through the city every day. "City driving is all about blending in," Okai explained as they merged into morning traffic. "The aliens are looking for truckers on highways, not delivery drivers in city traffic." She took Nara through a maze of city streets, industrial areas, and residential neighborhoods. Every few miles she changed routes, doubled back, and used her knowledge of traffic patterns to stay invisible. "How do you all know exactly where to go?" Nara asked, amazed by the coordination. "We've been doing this for years," Okai said. "Not rescuing aliens, obviously, but helping each other out. When a driver breaks down, when someone needs to get medicine to their sick kid, when there's an emergency, we have ways of getting things done that don't show up on any official system." The relay continued throughout the day. Each driver took Nara for a section of the journey, then passed her to the next trucker in line. Farm roads, mountain passes, city streets, industrial zones. They used every type of route available, making it impossible for the aliens to predict where she would be next. By evening, Nara was just 50 miles from the embassy, riding with her 7th different driver of the day. She had learned more about human cooperation in 12 hours than in months of diplomatic study. The final truck in the relay pulled into a rest area just outside the capital as the sun was setting. Nara's current driver, a quiet man named Ho-sik, helped her down from the cab just as 3 black vehicles with diplomatic plates arrived. But these weren't Dominion forces. They were from the Keth embassy. A tall, elegant woman with the same blue-tinted skin as Nara stepped out of the lead vehicle. This was Ambassador Kira, and she looked both relieved and worried as she embraced the young courier. "Nara, thank the stars you're safe," the ambassador said. "We received your warning, but I'm afraid the news is worse than we hoped." Zhang Ri, the embassy's security chief, was already coordinating with someone on a communication device. He was built like a soldier, but spoke with the calm authority of someone used to handling crises. The invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 2 hours ago, he announced. They'll reach Earth's atmosphere in 6 hours. Our people are sending help, but they won't arrive in time. Nara felt her heart sink. Then we failed. Not necessarily, Jiang Ri said, looking at Ho Sik and the other truckers who had gathered to see the handoff completed. These humans have impressed us with their coordination. Tell me, how many drivers participated in getting you here safely? Ho Sik thought for a moment. Directly, maybe 20 trucks in the relay chain, but we had reports from drivers all across the country. I'd say hundreds of truckers were involved in keeping track of the alien forces and helping with the rescue. Hundreds, Jiang Ri repeated thoughtfully. And they're all connected through these radio networks? That's right, said Name, a female trucker who had been part of the relay earlier. She was a tough woman who'd been driving trucks for 12 years and had earned respect in a male-dominated profession. The CB network reaches every highway in America. We can coordinate thousands of drivers if we need to. Ambassador Kira exchanged a look with Jiang Ri. The Dominion strategy relies on striking fast and overwhelming local defenses before organized resistance can form. But if Earth already has a communication network that can coordinate a response, what are you thinking? Nara asked. The invasion force will land at strategic points to capture major cities and transportation hubs, Jiang Ri explained. But their ground forces are limited. They're counting on panic and confusion to prevent humans from mounting an effective defense. Name stepped forward. You're talking about a fight, aren't you? These aliens are coming to take our planet and you want us to help stop them. I'm talking about buying time, Jiang Ri said. Our fleet will arrive in 18 hours. If humans can slow down the invasion for just 1 day, we can turn this around. The CB radio in Ho Sik's truck crackled to life. Word was already spreading through the trucker network. Drivers across the country were reporting the strange ships in the sky moving toward major cities. This is Desert Thunder from Arizona, a voice reported. We've got massive aircraft approaching Phoenix. They're not like anything in our Air Force. Mountain King from Colorado here, another driver chimed in. Same thing happening in Denver. These ships are huge and they're landing in the industrial district. Nam Ai grabbed the radio microphone. All drivers, this is Iron Rose. We've got confirmation that these are hostile forces planning to invade our country. I repeat, these are enemies of Earth. Any driver who wants to help defend our homeland, form up with your local convoys. We're going to show these aliens what American truckers can do. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Drivers from every state began checking in, asking for coordinates, organizing into groups. The CB networks that had been used for decades to share road conditions and help fellow drivers were now becoming the backbone of Earth's resistance. This is incredible, Nara whispered, listening to the coordinated response building across the continent. Jiang Ri was already working with embassy staff to track the landing zones. The largest Dominion force is heading for the industrial complex outside Atlanta. If we can stop them there, it'll disrupt their entire plan. Nam Ai looked at the other truckers. Atlanta's 8 hours from here. How many rigs can we get there? By morning? Give me 2 hours on the radio, Ho Sik said grimly, and I'll have more trucks heading to Atlanta than you've ever seen in one place. The sun was just coming up when the largest convoy in trucking history rolled toward Atlanta. Over 200 trucks had answered the call, stretching for miles along Interstate 75. Leading them was Park Soo, a veteran driver with 30 years of experience who had volunteered to coordinate the attack. All drivers, this is Iron Bull, Park Soo's voice came over the CB radio. We can see the landing zone ahead. These alien ships are bigger than I expected, but remember, we're not trying to win a war by ourselves. We just need to mess up their plans long enough for the cavalry to arrive. The Dominion invasion force had set up in the industrial district exactly as Jiang Ri predicted. 3 massive ships, each the size of a city block, had landed among the warehouses and factories. Hundreds of alien soldiers in dark armor were spreading out to secure the area. But the aliens hadn't expected to face an army of 18-wheelers charging straight at them. Remember the plan, Park Soo continued. The big rigs take point and break their lines. The smaller trucks follow through and keep them scattered. And everybody watch out for those energy weapons. Nara was riding in the embassy vehicle behind the convoy, coordinating with the Keth rescue ships, that had just entered Earth's atmosphere. Iron Bull, this is command. Our air support is 30 minutes out. Can you hold that long? We'll hold as long as we need to, Park Soo replied grimly. The first exchange came when the convoy was still half a mile from the landing zone. Dominion soldiers fired energy weapons that looked like purple lightning, but most of the bolts bounced off the truck's metal hulls or missed entirely as the big rigs weaved and scattered. They're not used to fighting moving targets this big, observed Young Min, driving a flatbed loaded with steel pipes. Their weapons are designed for infantry combat. Park Soo's truck hit the alien perimeter first. His 40-ton rig smashed through a barrier that would have stopped a tank, scattering Dominion soldiers like bowling pins. Behind him, dozens of other trucks followed, their air horns blaring like war cries. The aliens tried to adapt, but they'd never faced anything like this. Their advanced tactics meant nothing when 200 trucks were charging at them from different directions. Every time they tried to form a defensive line, another big rig would come crashing through. "This is Midnight Runner," called out a driver whose truck was equipped with a snowplow. "I'm clearing a path right up to their main ship. Anyone want to join me for a house call?" 3 more trucks with plows and bulldozer attachments formed up behind him. They pushed through alien defenses like they were clearing snow from a highway, opening a corridor for the other trucks to follow. The Dominion forces were getting desperate. They started targeting the truck's fuel tanks and tires, trying to disable the vehicles. Some drivers had to abandon their rigs, but others just kept pushing forward. "Command, this is Iron Bull," Park Soo reported as his damaged truck rolled to a stop near one of the alien ships. "We've got them pinned down, but we're taking casualties. Where's that air support?" "Right here," came a new voice over the radio. 3 sleek Keth fighters screamed overhead, their weapons targeting the Dominion ships. The aliens suddenly found themselves caught between the truckers on the ground and enemy aircraft above. But the real turning point came when Nam A's voice cut through the radio chatter. "All drivers, I've got an idea. These alien ships have landing gear supporting them. What do you think happens if we take out those supports?" The response was immediate. Every truck with a heavy-duty winch or towing capability converged on the 3 landing sites. Working together, they wrapped cables around the support struts and began pulling in coordinated fashion. "On my count," Nam A shouted. 3, 2, 1, pull. The first alien ship tilted as its landing gear collapsed. Emergency systems activated, but the massive vessel was now listing at a dangerous angle. Alien soldiers inside were thrown around, and their coordinated attack fell apart. "Holy cow, it worked!" someone shouted over the radio. The second and third ships suffered the same fate within minutes. The Dominion invasion force, which had planned to use Atlanta as a staging ground for conquering the southeastern United States, was now scattered and confused. Nara watched in amazement as the human truckers regrouped and began systematically capturing alien soldiers who were trying to retreat to their damaged ships. "Your people just defeated a Dominion invasion force with trucks and tow cables," she told Jang Ri over the radio. "I'm beginning to understand why the Keth have been so interested in this planet," he replied. 3 weeks after the invasion was stopped, Nara found herself back at Park's 24-hour truck stop. The place had become famous overnight. News crews from around the world had interviewed Han about the siege, and the truck stop was busier than ever. But today, Nara wasn't here for the media attention. She had come to say goodbye. The same group of truckers who had protected her that first night were gathered around the counter, drinking coffee and swapping stories about the battle in Atlanta. When Nara walked in, the conversation stopped. "Well, look who's back," said Yunbo with a grin. "Our little alien friend cleans up nice." Nara was wearing a formal diplomatic uniform instead of the torn clothes she'd had when they first met. She looked older somehow, more official, but her glowing eyes still held the same warmth. "I wanted to thank you all," she said. "Not just for saving my life, but for saving Earth. The Keth Council has officially recognized humanity as a member of the galactic community because of what you did." Tay looked up from his coffee. "That sounds pretty important." "It is," Nara said. "Earth will now have access to advanced technology, interstellar trade and protection under galactic law. Your planet will never have to face an invasion like this alone again. Ambassador Kira stepped through the door behind Nara, carrying a small metal case. Which brings us to why we're here today. The Keth government wants to offer payment to everyone who participated in stopping the invasion. She opened the case, revealing devices that seemed to glow with their own inner light. These are energy generators that could power your entire truck for years without fuel. We also have communication devices that work across star systems and navigation computers that could guide you safely through hyperspace. Park Sue leaned back in his chair. That's mighty generous, but we didn't help you for a reward. That's right, agreed Name. We helped because it was the right thing to do. You don't pay someone for doing what's right. Han nodded from behind the counter. Besides, what would we do with hyperspace navigation? We're truckers, not spaceship pilots. Ambassador. Kira looked surprised. You're refusing payment. Ma'am, said Hosik politely, we appreciate the offer, but truckers have always helped each other out without expecting anything in return. This was just helping on a bigger scale. Nara exchanged a look with the ambassador. I told you they would say that. You knew they'd refuse? Ambassador Kira asked. I've been studying human culture for 3 weeks, Nara said with a small smile. Truckers especially. They have a code of honor that's stronger than any law. The truckers finished their coffee and began heading back to their rigs. They had deliveries to make, schedules to keep, and miles to cover. The fact that they'd saved the world was already becoming just another story to share over CB radio. But as each trucker started their engine over the next few days, they noticed something different. Their trucks ran smoother, quieter, and seemed to use less fuel. The CB radios picked up signals clearer than ever before, and the GPS systems showed routes that had never been there before. Tay was the first to figure it out. Nara, you little sneak, he said to himself, looking at his fuel gauge that hadn't moved in 3 days of driving. His CB radio crackled with her voice, transmitted from somewhere in space. You wouldn't accept payment, but I never said anything about gifts. Besides, Earth is going to need experienced drivers who can handle interstellar routes. Over the following months, more changes appeared. Truck engines that never broke down, communication systems that let drivers talk to each other across continents as clearly as talking face to face, and occasionally route suggestions that led to places that weren't quite on Earth anymore. The first trucker to accidentally take an off-ramp that led to a space station orbiting Mars was Xin Wu. His radio call back to Earth was legendary among drivers. Dispatch, I think I made a wrong turn somewhere. The GPS is showing my location as Mars Orbital Depot, and there are some very friendly blue people here asking if I'm delivering the medical supplies they ordered. Within a year, human truckers were making regular runs throughout the solar system. The same CB networks that had coordinated Earth's defense now managed shipping routes between planets. The same truck stops that had sheltered Nara became refueling stations for interstellar commerce, and whenever young alien diplomats asked how Earth had joined the galactic community so successfully, the answer was always the same. They had truckers. Nara, now serving as Earth's primary liaison to the Keth government, kept a photo on her desk of that first night at Park's truck stop. In it, a group of ordinary humans stood together, ready to risk everything to protect someone they'd just met. It reminded her every day why Earth had become the most trusted member of the Galactic Alliance.